need to hit this button. How's it going? I need to turn down the volume here. Got an echo. Wait. Yeah, I'm coming. I know. Sorry about that. Man, there's a lot of equipment around here. I trust you can hear me. In fact, not only do I trust you can hear me, but I want to do a really quick mic check because this is one mic and this is another mic. And you should hear this too. You should hear both. This is two. This is two. This is two. And this is one. This is one. This is one. And you get to pick. You get the pick. This is the way it was or is. This is one. And this is two. This is two. I think I did that right. And so anyway, I'm going to go with one because I don't want to mess up because I've got so much to show you today. I don't want to mess up. So I'm going to go with one. But if there is an audio problem, maybe you could leave some comments about which one you thought was better. And then after the show, maybe tomorrow, I'll put some more calories into getting this. Let's get started, okay? Really looking forward to this episode. Thank you all for being here. I just want to make sure you guys can actually hear me. Oh, since we're there, the 8-8 has passed. Here's Regulus. Remember we talked about this? Hope you guys saw that episode on the Regulus stuff. And here it comes with Mercury just came in, Mars, Venus, and the Sun. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful place we have here. The fact that there are luminaries that give us this mystery is kind of freaking cool. I love that we don't have to go out there and just spooge our theories all over it and say, that's what it is, man. It's got to be known. We have to know shit. We have to know shit. So, anyway. 2 has a high-pitched whistle. Thanks, Blackstone Cone. Good to see you. 1, I love it. I love 1 is better. Okay, thanks, guys. I'm just glad you can hear me. The Scarlet Letter. The Scarlet Letters is the name of this episode, and I would like for you to understand that the Scarlet Letters are P-C-R. And this is a fascinating resonance that you're watching. That you're about to watch. At least I think so. Because the story of the Scarlet Letter is completely the story of COVID-19 and the PCR and the puritanical dangers, the puritanical power of belief. It's profound how similar these things are. I made this little meme for you guys. I wish I would have put more time into it, but the Scarlet Test instead of the Scarlet Letter, and of course the letter wouldn't be an A, right? It would be a positive. And that we've created this realm, this story has birthed itself in front of our very eyes, and we get to live the drama, but the funny thing about reality is just like the Puritans in the story, they were so convinced that they were the good guys. That they were the ones that had, first of all, that they were good guys. Not that they're bad, but we've been over this. But that they were the ones that had the correct science, the correct motif, right? And that history is a wheel, my friends, a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. And even if you want to say, well, you're going to repeat it if you don't learn it, I think even if you learn it, you get to repeat it because you will just find there's another convolution that no one would get on a merry-go-round with that attitude of like, well, wait a minute, I already spun around here once, so if I was to do this twice, it would not be fun. And no, that's why we have the seasons, right? The merry-go-round is a beautiful thing. We only hate it when we're feeling seasick, and we're only seasick when we've lost our equilibrium, right? One of our senses. Now, look at these parallels. Esther, the main lead in the story, gave birth to an illegitimate idea. And that idea would be that her immune system was grounded. She was punished for adultery by the CDC after she was caught reading independently. She sought comfort, love, sex, huh? Outside of the CDC, she sought life. She sought life, and she found life outside of the CDC. Do you see this? Is this not amazing? The corollary? Come on. Punished for CDC adultery after she was caught reading independently. She did her best to survive in a puritanical society run by zealots who held nothing more than a majority opinion on something that was superstition. No one's isolated the virus. Her entire story was banned as pornographic and obscene. It wouldn't have shown, it wouldn't have read, it wouldn't have played on Instagram. This book would not have played on YouTube. This book would not have played on Facebook. Those three things would have been removed right away. And anytime it did play, like some porn pixel thing, there will be a label placed on top of the obscenity explaining to people what the Puritans want you to know, want you to cling to as you're going through all this, right? And that the writer of this story himself, Nathaniel Hawthorne, the writer himself, born in the city of Salem, Massachusetts, where the witch trials actually took place, like 100 years later, right? 100 years after this. Not only did he grow up in that town, but he was the descendant of the one dissenter in the Salem witch trials. The one guy that said, no, man. She was a fucking witch. That bitch had it coming, man. It's like wandering around with freaking roots, right? She had She had a cat, right? Had roots and a cat. What more do you want, right? It's a test. I gave her the test, and she failed. The one guy who never repented, right? There's that word. Damn, Humblescape. The one guy that would never admit that he did something wrong writes a story as beautiful as this. It's fantastic. You are looking at pure surging epigenetic guilt coming out of this man. And you can even see it. Look at his signature. His signature is very, very proper. Not only that, this guy didn't like himself so much that his third book, he was really, really working hard to make sure no one ever saw it. Like, it came out, then he felt guilty for it. Not because it was bad, not because it had bad things in it, because he thought that he sucked. He thought that his work sucked. And this is that empathy that we talked about, that you can plasmatically place yourself in Hawthorne. You can see his signature. You can see what he wrote. You can see what he was telling you. You can see how ahead of his time he was. You could see how brilliantly, piercingly insightful he was. And you know that it probably came from trauma. And where'd that trauma come from? From his genes. Right now, people are telling you that a vaccine would never, ever be able to alter your genes. But as you know, epigenetic guilt is real, my friends. And if you're having trouble understanding that, please look at alcoholism. That has been proven to be an epigenetic disease, but I'm probably preaching to the choir. Now, this story is profound because we are where we are today. 1 year ago yesterday, a Lisbon Court Appeals ruling said, in the eyes of this court, then a positive test does not correspond to a COVID case. I meant to caveat this, but I just don't have time because of all the material I want to cover today. This is probably not going to be YouTube friendly. I've done my best to do what I can, but that's just the way it is. Guys, if you're supporting me on YouTube, please understand that it's actually making it harder. That if you could jump to Rockfin, you're going to notice that even I'm going to be able to just speak easier as I'm explaining you these things. I will say, though, that I've put much time into the material that I have, and that if an actual human reviewed it, you will find that I've never actually once said something isn't real. I've actually explained the power of belief and how this works. Let's get back to material. A year ago today, we've known the truth for a year. And if you don't trust a Lisbon court, I want to remind you that the person who's always in the lead on your football team, your soccer team, whatever you want to call it, your wingman, he's going to be that that really fast Italian guy that runs out in front and makes the shot, doesn't really necessarily have a lot of like oomph behind it, but hey, he's quick to get there. That the Italians will always lead in the global lie, and that the Italians told you that 80% of all their tests were false positives. They told you that within 4 weeks? Within 4 weeks of anyone ever hearing the word Wuhan, the Italians were telling you, our tests actually aren't right. We're getting positive results when we shouldn't. And I want you to think about us as Puritans, us meaning the herd, and how we're hearing this, that it's a year later, and that Dr. Stephen Buston says, we demonstrate the elementary protocol errors, and the majority of published PCR data are likely to represent technical noise. And we will condemn him. Repent, Dr. Stephen Buston. You are not welcome in our parish. And so he's thrown out. 30 people died in prison in Salem, which means no one actually felt like that they killed him. They're like, well, we didn't kill him. He died in prison. Hey, not my fault. It's the same kind of thinking that we're thinking, hey, all we did was stop him from talking. That's it. Right? And you're watching the emotional front fight itself. Wait, how'd that get there? Is that already next? Yes. This PCR test. I want you to think about it as if you've taken a rendered photograph of Abraham Lincoln. You don't actually have Abraham Lincoln, but you took a photograph of Abraham Lincoln and you scaled it up as big as it could go. And when you scaled it up so big, you started to notice that there were sequences, that there were pixels on him that 100% matched Audrey Hepburn. And now you have Abraham Hepburn, Audrey Lincoln. That's not an exaggeration. The inventor of this test will tell you that in order to cycle what we're cycling, up to 35 cycles for this test, you're looking at 100 billion replications in order to see not a pixel, a shadow of a pixel. My friends, a photo of Abraham Lincoln does not have genetic material in it, does not have the map. It has what a picture of that map might look like, and only if you're focusing on the green dots. That's PCR. That's the Scarlet test. And a Puritan society will welcome a test like this, and you need to ask yourself why. You do. Why does a hummingbird come in here for sugar when the CDC said don't listen to this man? Abraham Hepburn. The PCR test doesn't tell you that you were sick. These tests cannot detect free infectious viruses at all. This crazy coot is Kary Mullis. He thinks he's all that because he invented the PCR test. And I'm not holding it against him that they gave him the Nobel Prize. I'm not. That doesn't really impress me. But I'm not holding. It does show that there is a licking. People in society have licked him. Right? They're like, we lick you. We accept you as one of us. And then he goes and says this. Quite a betrayal. Love that guy. Love that guy. And even Mullis has actually been at war with Gallo and Fauci for a long time now. A long time, actually. It hasn't been about PCR. It hasn't been about COVID. Keep in mind that Mullis died just 2 months before Raytheon actually announced, and then the Wuhan. So it was like 6 months before this whole thing hit. So Mullis doesn't actually know COVID. But even before COVID hit, he knew that something was screwed up with AIDS. He knew that HIV, something was wrong. He knew that. And he knew who was involved. It's a fascinating tale. You could argue that this tale was shown to us. I know some of you might not even dig that vibe, and it's cool, but seriously, this is some amazing ground laying here that's happened through this whole thing. It's almost like someone's playing a frequency, and only certain people are able to hear that tune. They're able to recognize, wait a minute, there's a message inside that tune, but everyone else is like, what? I don't hear that message. I don't hear it. But you do. And I do. In fact, it's almost as if that frequency has brought you and I together, but we're calling this tragedy. We're calling this a horror, what's happening. We're calling it horror that people are like, but now I'm stuck home with my kids and I'm working from home and shit. They're trying to kill us. And we're looking at a society that's like, I don't think I can take my kids back to the indoctrination prison that actually is the word school, which in Rome meant place where they keep gladiators. Like you're looking at that. You're not looking at a bunch of butt-licking Karens that are like, I think we need to have school on Saturdays and Sundays. You don't have that. You have the opposite of that, which is why which is fascinating as the story is unfolding. If there's a proof that HIV is the cause of AIDS, there should be scientific documents which either singly or collectively demonstrate that fact, at least with a high probability. There are no such documents, Carrie Mullis. I can't get into germ theory in this episode because I've been working on this electric community episode. You guys have heard about that for a long time. I've not forgotten about that. The reason why I haven't shown it is because it's so freaking dope. Like the stuff that I found about piloerection. Don't get excited. Get excited. Piloerection. There's all these fascinating systems in play electrically. And but just know that stuff's coming. It's coming, and it's important that you understand that what COVID's done is it's cracked this story open. That the petroleum slime that was covering this gem is gone. People can see it now. It's profoundly. Best apocalypse ever. I've never felt more convinced about my book than I do now. As the stuff keeps coming, all it's doing is squeezing out goodness. You guys that don't are worried about your job, I get it with the vaccine and stuff, but keep in mind, your building is going to be completely aligned 100% with people that had compromised immune systems and have compromised ego, psychic immune systems that are so gullible and so weak that they're looking for something to break them, to physically break them. And you are not going to be subjecting your body to them. This is a very natural process, right? It's a thermodynamic equation, my friends. You're not losing a job, you're leveling the fuck up. Think about what it would be to be in that place. Hold faith and truth to the fact that this is going to be fine. And more importantly, keep watching all the downvotes and understand there's no way this is going to work. And just like you pledge a draft in the war, you're going to scare the shit out of people because you want them to sign. You want that X. What is a plus, a positive test, but just an X? A signature, a consent. Some of you are worried about school. You're going to be fine. You know why? Because you're worried about school. Thank God. You're young enough that you're like, holy fuck, I'm not going to put corporate property into my fucking muscle. And so you're not going to be doing the vaccine, but you're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to go to school? And the answer is you're going to go to school and you're not going to get a vaccine, but you're going to have to wait. There's going to be stress. There's going to be pressure. And the system's going to be testing you. It's going to be blowing you down. How strong is your house, right? Is it hey? Hey, hi government, come on in, right? Is it sticks or is it bricks? This is the summer of tribulation, and you guys are doing very well We all are. Seriously. Best apocalypse ever. Seriously. Top 10 clues. It's a one big giant pile of bull poopy. I should have revealed these. Sorry. Boom. Number 10. Every death is a COVID-19 death. Number 9. Within 30 days, Italy reported 80% of their cases. Number 8. The virus has never been isolated. Number 7. PCR tests are marked for research only. Did you know that? They're actually marked for research only. Number 5. The test doesn't detect a virus. Number 4. No causal chain of transmission. Number 3. Entire outbreak was rehearsed at event 201. Holy shit. They gave away stuffed animal. Number 3, government is doctor now. Number 2, the Georgia Guidestones. Number 1, I can't even discuss this list on a platform, assuming we're even still playing right now. You are looking at this. That while the inventor says the PCR test doesn't tell you that you're sick, media is telling you hospitals are being stretched to the brink as horrific case numbers spike. And the hospitals are actually saying, and step 2, 3 kick. That is a bunch of Puritans wandering around, clinging to their Bibles because they're afraid of an invisible demon that's wandering the streets and speaking to them through 13-year-old girls who are bored. That's all it takes sometimes. And the top 10 things that have tested for COVID have never been debunked. People have tried to debunk these, and you will even go to the debunk sites, and they will even tell you, well, so it did test positive, but that test was corrupt. Yeah, it was just that test. And they figured it out. Why? Well, because the people that made the corrupt test figured out that it was corrupt, and then they uncorrupted it. Yeah. Just like the Cutter incident. Yeah. Goats, cola, orange juice, sheep, pawpaws, engine oil, papayas, Lithuanian Olympic swimmers, a family of 3 who were negative 4 hours before the flight in Australia, now positive when they land in Hong Kong, and people twice vaccinated against COVID-19. All of these things, COVID positive. And you have that mark. And what was the purpose of Tom Hanks? What was the purpose of the celebrities embracing the virus like it was an Oscar? Like it was a sacred trophy, right? Oh, I have COVID. You guys please pray for me because I got the COVIDs, right? It was an idol. It was an idol. That's what it was. Now, I need you to put your britches on. I need to challenge you. Some of you have gotten here from a conservative platform, a conservative path that's led you here. Some of you came from a liberal path that's led you here. None of those matter. It doesn't. But it could be that along your way you picked up some residual bacteria that may not be serving you quite like the good bacteria does. And that phenomenon deals with your approach to things like abortion and capital punishment. So it's workout time. Get in plank position, please. Hold for 30 seconds. Here we go. A country that believes in capital punishment also believes in eugenics. Do you understand? You can't have one without no. You can't have one without this. Stop saying, no, if someone did something bad. No. The reason why it's invalid to say because they did something bad is because you're the one that determines if what they did was bad. And you are placing a false ideal in your head that you have the ability to be objective. We went through this, not yesterday, the day before. Someone came in the comments, got mad. Hey, I research. I don't fucking spread propaganda. And I'm like, that's propaganda. And if you can try that on, you're ready to level up. If you're ready to level up, you are going to understand that you use propaganda just like the government does, and you need it. And when you can truly see that, you will stop giving yourself propaganda like you have objective morality solved. Because you don't. You don't have sovereignty over someone else's life, so why the fuck What government? And if you have someone in your village who's so much of a problem that you think the only solution is to kill him, you need to find someone else and ask them to be in charge, because you're phoning it in. Because I know 12 guys in a shovel can make that guy a new hole. And there's a lot of therapy in the hole. I know that because that's what government does to you for 12 years of your life. Well, it tortures you in prison while your parents look and say nothing. This is how you raise giants, my friend. Is you make the deepest pit and you throw them all inside. And the ones who climb out are fucking strong. Did I say I like it? No. Did I say I support it? No. But that's how nature works. And I'm not going to be one of these seagulls that's going to pretend, hey man, if we just vote out this one eagle, everything's going to be okay. Because that's just bullshit hot dog talk. Mine, mine, mine. That's all it is. It's hot dog talk. All right, here it comes. A country that grants a woman permission to do something to her body has more jurisdiction than she does. Do you know what that means? If you truly want to embrace sovereignty, you're going to truly have to embrace sovereignty. And if you are going to give the ability for the one who controls this land to kill you, you have to think about those consequences on both sides. This is not easy. And the reason why it's not easy is because it's sovereignty. It's sovereignty. I think that you should be able to live in a world where you can accept that your neighbor is allowed to behave immorally. And the reason why I think you need to accept that is because, A, it's already happening. And to pretend like it's not would be to be a Puritan and to insist that someone should do something. And the reason why someone should do something is because you are going to cling to your witch hunting. Today we call it wizard hunting. Today we call it political reform. Today we call it vaccines. Today we call it anything that has that bent that we can reach the promised land and all we have to do is bend the rules right now and judge the fuck out of this other person. And I'm not asking you to turn the other cheek. I'm asking you to be creative. And we have the ability to be creative. There's some smart motherfuckers wandering around. And at no point in time will it become necessary for us to have to murder someone in order to be good. It doesn't work that way. And when you think it does, it's because you've fallen into that spell that, hey, psst, there's a demon out there. Yeah, there's nothing. You can't see him. No, don't look. You can't even see him. He's invisible. Where he's how do you see him? That's a great question. But look, he's right there. You can totally see him. That story is the oldest Broadway play we've ever seen. And it starts the moment you start freaking out. And you think, oh my God, we got to kill somebody. We got to kill somebody. We got to kill somebody. And that if you truly understood how adrenals work, you will understand the power of telling someone that abortion should come with flowers. That abortion is a funeral. And when we treat it like a funeral instead of like a rite, the power of what's happening, the power of witness, starts to clear up any misconceptions anyone could have about what's happening. And we don't celebrate the Moloch, but we witness it. We witness it because we understand this is your child. This is your child, and if you're going to throw your baby who needs you to survive into the fire, that is fucked up. It's not health care, it's not reproduction, it's nothing else. It's fucked up, and you get to witness that. You get to show that. Now, if you want to ask for the baby, go for it. You can follow this analogy wherever you want, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you are going to be terrified, And that terror is going to be used for you to take away someone else's sovereignty. And you are going to feel like that was right, moral, and necessary because of the puritanical beliefs that society has put in you. And most of those beliefs come through the illusion of invisible demons wandering around that are so tiny you can't see them. And they're so close that not only are they in your house, they're under your skin. And there is one man who can find them, and his name's Anthony Fauci. And this is exactly what we did at the Salem witch trials. Witchfinder General. Things to think about. Calling healthcare a right is the same as demanding mandatory vaccines. These things are the same. That when you're demanding government, we need, we want, we must, we demand, that you're asking for mandatory vaccines. You're demanding it. Children will demand what they want. And children will be treated like children by the people who do not consider themselves to be children. It's just math. This is why I say this serves us so much. And now you can start to see the 30-year haul. You could truly see the 30-year haul more than ever now. You can understand how politics is a plow. And that rudder, that front knife of that plow is so far ahead. It is so far ahead of where you think that farmer is back behind him. That farmer is not only behind the plow, he's behind the fucking cow or tractor or whatever else it is. You think he's way back there with you. And no, he's got his line marked. He's done this a lot. He does it every day. It's his job, and he's not stupid. He's not. Think about it. Humane Society, nicest people in the world, right? PTA moms, hanging out, having coffee, having lattes. They decide there's too many stray cats, somebody needs to do something. And what do? They go out and they say, well, we don't want to kill them because we're nice. Let's neuter them. Hey, that's an idea. How are we going to neuter them? Well, we could catch them and stick needles in them. Wow. That's a thought. Yeah. We could feed them food that, like, makes them not want to have sex. Hey, there's a thought. We could play, like, cat music that, like, makes them think that they're gay. Okay, that's kind of twisted, but that's thought. Hey, hey, we're the Humane Society. We can do whatever we want. We're humane. It's in our name. Look, Humane Society. See? And if we get really good at this, we can catch 100 cats in one day. We can make this whole process easier for veterinarians. Not once in this entire catalog does it discuss the autonomy or sovereignty of a cat. In fact, you would consider that silly. You would be laughed out of the Humane Society. You would be the inhumane solo person. You wouldn't even have a society. It'd be sad. In 400 BC, Hippocrates documented the first case of hysteria, what we now call hysteria. And he described it as women driven insane by the lack of a husband. And I just want to say, I think this guy was a player. I think that he was like wandering around. It's like, yeah, I know what's bugging you, pretty lady. You need a husband. You need a man inside you. Now come on over here behind this bush and I'll give you some healing. I'm just saying that's the first thing I smelled when I'm listening to this guy describe it. But the point that I should be making is that hystericos was actually well documented. It's hard to picture this because we've normalized hysteria so well. We are so polite with hysteria. Like, we're so polite about our hysteria now that you don't even recognize it as hysteria. We're polite as fuck right now. But I want you to understand that throughout history, we, as a people, acted kind of weird. Like, we had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. We were hysterical a lot of the time. All the way back to 400 BC. You're about to see. You're about to see. Hey, thanks for watching me, by the way. You're about to see. Okay. This salvation technology, these things that we've talked about before, that we were unleashing these rituals that were used to cleanse our Taurus. It's true. We were looking for penance. We were utilizing penance technology. We've talked about this. I've described how Jesus is such the perfect archetype for penance, because you're taking the perfection of man, one who's not sinned, one who's perfect, one who's immaculate, right? All those things. And then you're brutally torturing him. And that causes all of your guilt molecules, all of the adrenals that secrete even the dopamine that's involved in your guilt, because a lot of dopamine is actually flown from the secretion of guilt, comes to the surface and cleanses you. It's a baptism, that you were baptized by Jesus precisely because someone so perfect you did nothing wrong was completely violated, humiliated, and shamed. And all that was done for me. That done for me is that hook, that mentholyptus, that rubbing vapor that when you place it on your chest, it pulls guilt from the deepest cells inside of you and allows them to release. This is important stuff. And when we were cruder, when we were more honest is a better way to say it, we were more obvious about our needs, about our wants. Keep in mind, we were so fucking in public. We're just like, hey, Tom, how's it going? Oh, pretty good. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just having a go at old Betty here. Betty's like, hi, Tom. It was a different time back then. It was different. This kind of salvation technology was important. The idea of a scapegoat, the idea of going to a temple and barbecuing your favorite lamb and not eating it. The cutting of yourself, the mutilations, the masochism, the public displays, remember Ezekiel, right? Eating his own poop. It's a contest of which one of us has more penance in us. It was a brutal mosh pit of spirituality that was cleansing. It was helping people. It's intense, but it was helping people. And that when that was shut down, when you look at what was happening, that, oh no, now that, by the way, I'm not saying we need to go back to that. Although I'm not against it, because I don't think that we're more sane today than we were then. But when that was suppressed, which it was suppressed as Constantine did that. He was right. He was installing, instead of Judaism, it was Christianity. It was like Judaism light. It was like, okay, you don't have to gut your dick. You don't have to eat all the right foods. You don't have to think this way or do this way or whatever. But let's do half that. People are like, okay, I feel better already. It's like, of course you do. Of course you do. It's a technology. Penance has always been a technology, because gnosis is belief. That's all it is. Everything that you think and feel and do is belief. You believe that you know, right? You believe that you know. It's true. Do the math. I would wait, but seriously, do the math. And so what happened when that was suppressed? The dancing plague. Yeah. The dancing plague, sometimes called dancing mania. It's called by a lot of names. This is not a single phenomenon, what I'm talking about, people. Look it up if you want. But you don't have to, because I did it for you. That's why you're watching. All over Europe, so many documented cases of this. There's been whole books written just about these cases. It's not one or two. It's numerous. Woodcuttings, etchings. People were breaking out in dancing manias. 14th and 17th century, groups of people dancing erratically, sometimes thousands at a time. The mania affected adults and children who danced until they collapsed from exhaustion and injuries. People got so worried that they were trying to cure these things, so they'd bring out instruments. They're like, hey, I know what'll fix these dancers. I'm going to fucking give them a beat. That'll show them. And then, of course, like medicine always does, we rush right in and stick a rusty screwdriver right into that cut. And of course, playing music did not work. That was like a horrible idea. It was actually causing more people to get in. And what you had was the birth of documentation for mass psychogenic illness, which is really what this episode's about. It's just hard to put that in a title and sell people on it. This dancing plague is just one of those examples. These symptoms were always socially contagious. They always spread socially, and that's an important piece to understand. And you'll notice in these drawings, this is not like, well, maybe they were just having fun. No, there's not a dance called the tie her fucking head to a stick so we can keep her head straight and hold her in a prison hold as we walk her down the river to throw some water on her or something, right? This is like legit. People aren't doing well. This Genesis was always very, very viral. In fact, a lot of these things, so one of many stories, keep in mind, just like all medicine does, some jackass is going to say, of course I know what caused this. It was the St Vitus Dance of 1021. Oh, what happened? Well, it just happens to fit in with my paradigm of religion. And yeah, St Vitus Dance, the idea that what happened was a local preacher was watching pagans dancing around a tree on Christmas. And he said, stop dancing around that tree, you filthy pagans. And they said, no, we're filthy pagans and we're going to dance around the tree. And him, fearing God, decided that, this was the devil. The devil had entered these people. And that their dancing and their hooping and their jubilee was a sign that they were broken and that we must save them. We need to neuter them so that they will be safe. We must provide them with health care immediately. And I don't blame them. You're living in some pretty interesting times, right? People are walking around with their codpiece of righteousness. This guy's got a fucking watermelon on his head. You don't know what they're doing. It's a different time. Everyone's going to do what they're going to do to survive. That's what makes humanity so great. Picture this couple. It's like, hey, will you come with me to the plague dance? Will you be my sweetheart at the plague dance? And other people try to explain it as Tarantism. And people had believed that it was a spider. And this idea that it was a spider was so deep because people believed that they could be reinfected. They believed that because the spider bit them, that the poison was inside them now, and that there was nothing they could do, and that they would have these outbursts of Tarantism, it's different names, dancing plague, whatever you want to call it. They would go into epileptic fits, but they resembled dancing. And they weren't singularly mobile. Many people were running through the streets. Many were naked. And it was always something that it wasn't a joy. They were doing this until they physically would just stop moving. People would die from this. And that this was always, as I said before, contagious. And when you inject the belief that it's a spider and that spider is still, the poison is still inside you, you now have an autoimmune disease. You've created a psychogenic autoimmune disease. I hope you understand how important that is. This all came from a history of dancing mania. Not all, but this one part. As many as 500 people were afflicted at one time from this spider, the Tarantism. It's from the History of Dance Mania in 1923. One of many books. There's a lot of these books on there. This is humanity trying to understand itself. Of course, as we said earlier, think about Hawthorne, right? The Witchcraft Act. That psychogenic illness was so real that we were passing laws that was making it illegal to psychogenically attack someone. Laws were on the books for hundreds of years. Actually, it's 1542 Witchcraft Act made witchcraft a crime by death. On January 16th, 1591, Agnes Sampson was shaved from head to toe and tied to the stake. Because of the mercy of the town, the Puritans, a tourniquet was used to choke her unconscious before the fires would burn her body. According to records, the execution cost the town $7.76. It was a Wednesday. That was King James's first trial. He was solving the virus problem. He was a hero for solving a virus. See how that works? Same wheel, right? And now psychogenic illness it's known, it's understood. It's documented, it's covered, it's in the DMSV, it's in journals. Mass hysteria. And I want you to know that the risk factors, I've got here on the screen, the risk factors are intense media coverage in childhood or adolescence. And if you think back to what was the Salem witch trial, you're looking at intense media coverage in the town, and you're looking at an invisible virus, and you're looking at fear inside a puritanical regiment, and that's the fire triangle. Fuel, oxygen, heat. That's fire triangle. Just basic thermodynamics, guys. Basic. That mass psychogenic illness, mass psychogenic illness, whatever you want to call it, epidemic hysteria, all these terms are real. And they're seen as affecting the nervous system, and they have symptoms. And you are going to flip when you see the symptoms. One of these symptoms is for mass psychogenic illness. The other symptom is for COVID-19. And what you're seeing is corollaries. You are seeing the same symptoms for both diseases. You're seeing the same manifestation for both. And I want to remind you all that anyone, including this hummingbird, anyone, man, you just ruined that. No, I was kidding. Anyone who knows medicine understands that a rapid test in a hospital goes with symptoms. That they have symptoms, then you give a rapid test. Hey, turns out your symptoms, and I said, hey, I wonder if that's strep throat. I will now give a strep throat to see if someone outside of me will confirm it's strep throat. Turns out it was strep throat. And then if you were to walk around going, hey, do you have strep throat? 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 The test is not going to work that way. It's not. And why? Because you don't actually have Abraham Lincoln. You have a pixelated photo of Abraham Lincoln, and you're pretty sure it's Audrey Hepburn. These are the same symptoms. They're the same. By the way, the one on the left is mass psychogenic illness. The one on the right is COVID-19. COVID and MPI are both triggered by intense media coverage. And this, if you have the electricity to understand what government is, this truly tells you everything. Because when you know that intense media coverage is a carrier for a disease, right, then you know that people are working to spread this disease with the power of intense media coverage. That's part of this formula. I get now why I'm not on YouTube. I just want to say that. Hearing myself, I get it. 1962, Strongsville, Ohio. Montana Mills was a plant with 1,000 employees. Over a 3-week period, 200 of these employees suddenly reported nausea and skin breakouts after they believed they were bitten by an unknown and unseen poisonous bug. The symptoms from this included skin rash, nervousness, fainting, burning of the skin, and the inability to turn their head. 1,000 employees, 20% of them, 200 of them, manifested symptoms of being bitten by a poisonous bug. This is modern, 1962. You don't get to take that. Well, that was the Dark Ages, James. We are so much better now. We have glasses. They had glasses back then. We have, we have television. Well, they had theater back then. Well, we had running water. Well, they had running water back then. Well, we had taxes. Actually, they did have. Okay, we'll get back to this. 200 sane people convinced a poisonous bug kills them. Now, this is what I think is fascinating, because 51%. Okay, so as soon as this happened, thank goodness, someone who was studying mass psychogenic illness went in and did a report. Kirchhoff and Back did this report. And they went in and immediately isolated the people. And this is what's beautiful about what they did. They wanted to know about the psychogenic properties of the illness. So they didn't go in saying, we want to talk about the illness. They actually went in and said, we are not, hey, Mr. Company Man, can we interview your people who want to study mass psychogenic illness, but we can't tell anyone that it's about mass psychogenic. I don't even know if he said that coming on. The point is that they went in and covertly were asking them, in order to determine the control from the self-defined affected to the affecteds. What that means is that they took people that were in that space that didn't get sick, and they called them their control. Not only did they not get sick, but they didn't believe it was a poisonous bug, that they thought the people were just nuts. I'm just guessing, but that's your control. And here's what I think is interesting, what I think is a huge clue, is that 81% of the people who were affected, I'm not going to make you read that, 81% of the people who were affected stopped claiming that they ever had symptoms. You had 3 different levels of infection here. The ones that weren't infected at all we'll call control, so actually not 3. That's your control. The ones that were affected but did not manifest symptoms, did not have rash, did not see the doctor, simply said they didn't feel well. Then you had the demonstrated affecteds, the ones that were physically showing symptoms, that were hospitalized for this. And it turns out something interesting. The ones who believed the most were the ones that doubted the whole thing after it happened the most. The ones least likely to believe that it was a poisonous spider were the ones that recovered from it, the ones that were affected the most from it. And you're looking at that cleanser. You're looking at a modern day desperate attempt for a body, a psychic body, to relieve pressure. An electromagnetic cell called a human being wants to release pressure. And we call that pressure guilt, we call it shame, we call it obedience, we call it whatever we're going to call it. It is the energetic expunging of pressure. The pressure that you're under to live in this world, to navigate it, to see it all, builds up. And if you do not have a release mechanism like religion, like Jesus, you are going to find a different technology that allows you to breathe. That these EMF motifs that we go through, these psychogenic illnesses, are truly a culture desperately trying to breathe from inside a puritanical collar. And that the more puritanical we get, the more this behavior will show. The Junebug incident of 1962 was blamed on publicity. It's legitimately listed as the cause. The health department responded to this emergency because people were saying there's a poisonous bug that's killing everybody, and they came in, and they closed the place down. They did what you see happening now because people demanded help. They said, we have to have help. And how did they help? The health department sprayed malathion. First time I've heard of this. On 3 different occasions they came in and sprayed this. And God forbid anyone got some of the clothing that was in there when it happened. And that the very, very thing that they were spraying is actually the cause of developmental disorders in children. That the call for help was met with a brutal attack on the genes and on the children. And these are not evil people. The health department, that guy, is even quoted. He's like, well, whatever was there is not there now. That was his exact word. They go to bed. They're not like, I completed my evil plan and I've murdered millions. No. He goes to bed thinking, God, I'm such a hero. And his wife's like, you're such a hero. It's such a beautiful moment for him because he feels victorious in what he's done. And what did he do? He gave development disorders to children. That's what he did. Can you see the corollary between him and Fauci? Do you see the corollary between the 1962 bug in Ohio, Strongsville, Ohio, and what's happening right now? Because it's there. It's knocking. It's right there. And no one has to be evil. The people that were asking for help believed in experts. They believed in experts much like the Israelites who left Egypt. That they, without Moses there to guide them in their tribulation, they constructed a golden calf. And when one has self-hatred and loathing, it will make you trust something that is not man more. Have you ever thought about that? When you're arguing with someone over facts and you start to quote, someone says, well, the CDC says this, and then you say, well, Carrie Mullis says this, they don't have respect for that. Why? Because that's a person. You're relying on a person, and they don't like people. No, they want an expert. They want a hypothetical committee, because in a committee, all these bad people, when you put them together in a committee and put donuts in front of them, good happens. Magic good just farts out of them. And it just spreads all over the world because of the conference room. Expert is the discrediting of humanity. The worshiping of the golden calf of the expert is the despising of man, is the despising of your internal sovereignty. I hope this makes sense. It's got to. As Carrie Mullis said, scientists are doing an awful lot of damage to the world in the name of helping it. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm here to tell you that they're not doing it to be evil. These people think they're doing good. This has been one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn this year. There are people that want to help. And they're over here. And then there are people that want to feel like they are helping. And they're over here. And you being a young discerner, it's like, oh, look at all those people that want to help. And you think that these people are the same because these people want to help, and these people want to feel like they're helping. And you're like, hey, this is great. Look at all these people. But when you start to do the math, you start to realize, oh shit. If someone just wants to feel like they're helping, they're going to behave just like the person who wants to help in this way. They're going to bend heaven and earth to get their goal. Someone who wants to help is going to go out of their way. They're going to do everything possible to help. And someone who wants to feel like they're helping, do you see this? Someone who wants to feel like they're helping is going to bend heaven and earth. They're going to curve and carve reality itself to create it where they can feel like they are helping the most. And that's Bill Gates. And that's Fauci. And that's most of the Puritans thinking. They do not see the difference between wanting to help and wanting to feel like someone is helping. And they think that all those things will only produce good because you're trying to help. And that's psychopathy. It's the deepest, thickest psychopathy you can ever imagine. And it leads to some of the worst behavior you've ever perceived. And it comes down to people who will do anything, even if it's immoral, to feel like they are helping. That's Zionism, that's Nazism, that's every bipartisan rule we've ever passed, that's a new $1 trillion budget that just passed, that's every lie that you've ever been told is by people who want to feel more than anything in the world. They want more than even truth itself, more than integrity. They want to feel like they're helping. And if they can feel like they're helping, nothing else matters. And that runs the world, my friends. That runs the world. Stephen King wants to help. He published a new horror novella yesterday. Whole thing in one tweet. Let me set the scene for you. Boom. First page and last page. If you haven't been vaxxed and aren't wearing a mask, you were just asking for it. Probably one of the lamer novels he's written. Not his best work. Very predictable. Really wants to help, though. Really wants to feel like he's helping. Friends, the Scarlet Letter is green. And only a puritanical society would claim a free aeobigenic resource that replenishes itself naturally in the ground is the work of evil. This is what modern day Puritans look like. They look like this. This is what Hummingbird looks like. He looks like this. He's like, I ain't no Puritan, man. I'm a badass. I smoke pot. I carry a knife. I like to leave the country without a passport. I ain't got no vaccine. I just fucking drink sugar wherever I find it, man. I'm a renegade. I'm a rebel. It feels like someone's watching me. It's weird. It's like these giant gods of Mount Olympus that are a lot bigger than me are watching me right now. It's weird. What a weird feeling that is. God, I'm just going to sit here and just milk this as much as I can. Man, he's thirsty. That's all right, buddy. You stay. I'll set up the next slide. There we go. Remember that time Extinction Rebellion had VIP coverage at G7 to protest how dirty we were? And all that was happening at a meeting of world leaders that were assembled to combat how dirty we were? Yeah, good times, right? Good times. Can you see how good it feels to be in these bodies, no matter where you are in this triangle? What I'm getting at is that if you feel like you were the cleanser, the puritanical cleanser marching through town, and you've painted your face and you're dressed in green and you're walking slowly and you're just like, oh, you feel like Jesus. You get to tell everyone, repent, repent, repent. And it becomes, you were the shame bell ringer, aren't you? You're the ringer of shame. This is a ringing of shame. And it feels good to them. And it takes all their problems away. All their problems are gone. These people have no problems. They are purely in flow state. And why? Because they're focused on your problems. It makes them feel good. Why? Because they want to feel like they are helping more than anything else in the world. They want to feel that way. This is what Puritans look like now.
The Red Brigade symbolizes the blood that connects all of us. It's the blood that connects humans, species, all of us to the earth. It came from Doug Francisco with the Invisible Theatre in the UK. It was his idea as a way to support Extinction Rebellion there. And because it's so visually captivating, many people all around the world have been intrigued by it, and it allows people who watch it the space to feel the emotional depth of what is happening to our world now. So for me, the Red Brigade is a vessel to hold the emotions of grief and loss and rage and joy and love and peace. And it's those emotions that connect all of us. And we try to work as one, which symbolizes that we are all connected. We act as one. We move as one.
We move as one.
We feel that connection, that really, really strong connection with each other, so that our movements express that sense of unity and emotional depth, and to allow the people watching to join in with that and have that space where they can feel that too.
Very Puritan, right? I hope you guys can hear me. Very Puritan, right? Like, that's modern day Puritanism. Wait a minute. Puritans. The mark of the beast in their hands. It's an X. It's not a plus, it's an X. And they're worshiping death. It's a scarlet death cult. And it was at G7. And all the media gave it coverage. All the media made sure that the Puritans had the stage. You can say, well, it's them doing it to us, but look at the crowd. This is us. We see these tragedies. We see these messiahs. Yeah, messiahs. They're messiahs. They're scarlet messiahs. And they appeal to us. They appeal to us because we need that crutch. We are not ready to stand on our own. We want to feel one. We want to feel like we are one of many. Where we go one, we go all. We want to feel like no one is ever going to make fun of me because of my religion, because I'm going to follow the Bible. And there, now, religion's solved. No one's going to give me shit. And I don't even have to think about it. No, I don't. I just have to tell people I read the Bible. I have to tell people to repent. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go into these weird fucking diatribes like James and think about, well, what is Isaac? What does that really mean? And what is Lord technology? Like, seriously, what's happening? I don't have to put in those calories. Fuck no. I just get to say the Trinity. The Trinity. And everything's just solved. And that's not religion. Actually, that's religion. It's not faith. It's not belief. It's not God. It's a vaccine. It's a little pinprick. Makes it all go away. All your mystery is gone now because you got it solved. First you create a demon, then you funnel all the energy of that demon, of anything that's ever not been solved, and then you claim to cure it. Sorry, but that was just the alpha demon. There's like a Bravo demon now. It's a Delta demon coming. Holy shit, the Delta demon. Man, that guy's a demon. We'll get it though. Got a booster coming. I love this expression on the front row. I just love it. I just love it. It's like the poster child. The Puritanism is right there. It's just gorgeous. You're looking at a lust for disgust. A fetish for ingratitude. It's so pure. It's so mesmerizing even. It's powerful, powerful technology at work here. These are modern day Puritans. And the only ones that are going to rise to the top are going to be, just like all Puritans, it's going to be who is the most puritanical, who is screaming the most, who is insisting that your own poop is going to kill us all, who can express themselves at their own disgust at what's happening the most. And we all do this. This happens on all sides. It's how we survive. We create vortexes. This is a vortex. These guys are creating vortexes, and it works. It's profitable. It's the only reason why they do it. It's a vortex. 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 Right? And why? Because they work. We feed them. We feed them. Donations pour in as Extinction Rebellion goes global. They raised like $500,000 in 2 weeks. And it just keeps happening. They keep growing. But I wanted a climate vaccine. Boo, I'm sad now. Because you lose the moment you leave the one. The moment you are thrown out of the puritanical village, you lose. So the only way to stay in the puritanical village is to be more puritanical than everyone else. That the more puritanical you are, the more you're in the center. And being in the center makes it less likely that you're going to be pushed to the outside. But I wanted a climate vaccine. It's weird that more doctors don't just say, I can't give my patients informed consent because I don't know how this vaccine works. It's almost as if universal health care was just one big hoax to get us into COVID. Well, it's almost that way. I'm not saying it's that way. That would be crazy, right? That'd be crazy. Just yesterday, guys. Just yesterday. Trending column, Healthcare Insider. Florida doctors are exhausted and angry as the state's COVID-19 surges unleash pandemonium inside hospitals. So I took that image and I did a search. And the reverse search shows that this is a clip art image that was purchased 3 days ago and released and utilized on several different platforms. And most of those platforms are saying the same thing. And I know you know this too, but I want you to see that they're not even trying. That the amount of work they're actually putting into fooling you is very little because they know how many people want to be fooled. They've installed this already. The Puritanism runs itself. It creates its own frothy top. It creates its own crumbly bottom. It runs itself now. Let's see what's next year. This is what Esther sounds like now. This is what it sounds like. This is what an adulterer sounds like.
Dr. Dan Stock, 5777 West 700 North McCordsville, Indiana. To address your comment, gee, it's hard to believe we're 18 months into this and still having a problem, and I would suggest the reason we still have a problem is because we're doing things that are not useful, and we're getting our sources of information from the Indiana State Board of Health and the CDC, who actually don't bother to read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation, and everything being recommended by the CDC and the State Board of Health is actually contrary to all the rules of science. So things you should know about coronavirus and all other respiratory viruses, they are spread by aerosol particles, which are small enough to go through every mask. By the way, the literature that supports all of that is in a flash drive that we presented to you. It's been given to the Secretary. As a matter of fact, it quotes at least 3 studies sponsored by the NIH to that exact fact, even though the CDC and the NIH have chosen to ignore the very science that they paid to have done. That is why you keep struggling with this, is because you cannot make these viruses go away. Dr. Dan Stock, 5777 West 700 North McCord.
Shoot, I think I might have paused that. I bet you guys have actually seen that video before. Powerful testimony. It's actually been thrown off. It's millions of views. We'll have it linked for you too. But I just want you to quickly see what an adulterer sounds like. Now, this guy's different because everyone's on his side. And you actually end up cheering for him. You're actually cheering for him, which is not what would have happened in the puritanical society, which is why I keep telling you this is the best apocalypse ever. That not only are you seeing an adulterer here, but everyone is cheering for him. That people are seeing what's happening. They know how this works. They're waking up. The thumbs down votes are stronger than you think. And it makes me think that a lot of this was done on purpose. The Great Awakening, that this would be a hobby that would make more sense for an elite to practice, is the opening up of flowers, not the closing. They're already billionaires. They don't need money. No one who is healthy wants to be a master. It's too many calories to be a master. You're always having to get up and listen to people say, we want this, we demand this, we have to have this, or whatever. It's not fun. No one wants to be a master unless you're twisted. And a billionaire can afford not to be twisted. They can afford to want to do something with their life just like you would. You would want to change the world. You would want to do something positive. You would want to blow people's holes wide open. You'd want to dilate the fuck out of them and get them to see, get them to embrace life. That would make you feel better. You would sleep better at night knowing you did that. You have to have faith in yourself as a billionaire. You have to have faith in what you would do. Because I know what you would do, because generosity would flow naturally from your adrenals because you're doing fine. The dissonance around you would stop. And when you're that powerful, you can afford to be honest. You can afford just to tell people. Yeah, we think 500 million people's fine. I'm not saying it's right. I'm telling you that you could tell people that. You could say, guys, a lot of you are still fucking nuts. You want to fight. You want to genitally rape yourselves. You want to say they're wrong. You want to say they're wrong. Whatever. You're going to fall for anything we tell you. So it's go time. Hunger Games time. Let's see who's smart. We're going to raise the bar. Anyone who's an idiot, you're going to get the vaccine, you're going to go back to work, you're going to pay your taxes, and you're going to be convinced that China was behind this, and we need to go kill some chinks. And we got a special place for you. And some of you are dumb enough to think we're going to colonize Mars. We got another special place for you. It's all set. This is a 100% consent-driven rapture. It's insane, but it makes the most sense out of anything that would make sense to me and with what's been happening to us. That I'm doing the best I can to track all these players on the field, and this math makes sense. It adds up. And the more I do this math, the more sense it makes, my friends. Look how cute that guy is. I drink from a sword. I just carry a sword around and just drink from it. I'm thirsty, I just shove my sword into something and suck sweet sugar juice from life. Of course it's rigged that way, guys. It's the best apocalypse ever. I'm a vibration. I don't even fly. I freaking vibrate. I can travel faster and farther than all of you. And all I drink is sugar. Yeah. How do I get the next slide here? Think about it this way, guys. If the people that believe in vaccines are wrong, they're going to die like goats on an altar. Like goats been brought to the altar, they're going to die. But if you and I, if we're wrong, we're going to die like wild horses on the beach. And when you start to understand that there's nothing wrong with death, that you're going to die anyway, you get to think about, you get to realize that now, starting right now, because I've admitted and know that I'm going to die, I am writing my eulogy. And I'm going to end that eulogy as a goat tied to an altar, as someone guts me, and my blood empties out, and no one even eats my meat. Or I'm going to be that wild horse running on the beach. People are chasing me with flamethrowers, trying to chase me down, and they might get me, but I'm going to die a wild horse on the beach. You get to choose, and you're already choosing. And it's part of why it's so good to be here with you guys. That these things aren't happening to us. They're happening with us. And that the only thing that's really, really hard is that we've been living in this fort that's trying to tell people that no one has to die. That truly is what's causing most of the turbulence and most of the Puritanism that reacts that way. So pick. Do you want to be a goat? Or do you want to be a wild horse on the beach, right? Thanks for joining me today. We're going to do a show tomorrow. It's going to be more of like a viewer mail thing, so it's not going to be a lot of topics, but we're going to do a show tomorrow, and we're going to do a dojo. So I hope to see you at either one of those things. It's been a year now since it's been announced. No vaccine's been isolated. If you've made it this long, you're a horse on the beach, baby. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for being here.